الحمد لله وكفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم هدى ورحمة للمحسنين الذين يقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة وهم بالآخرة هم يوقنون أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون ومن الناس من يشتري لهو الحديث ليضل عن سبيل الله بغير علم ويتخذها هزوا أولئك لهم عذاب مهين صدق الله العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Tonight, bihamdillahi ta'ala wa bi'awnih, we are starting Surah Luqman, which is another of the Makki surahs, and as is the basic style of Makki surahs, this surah also contains facts and evidences presented for the establishment of the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The surah is named after a famously known person in the Arabia whose name was Luqman. He was famously known to be a very wise person among the Arabs, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in this surah that Luqman was a believer in Allah, one Allah alone, and not only was he himself, but unlike the Arab people who were trying to prohibit their children from listening to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he taught his son to submit to Allah and the oneness of Allah and all the good qualities and stay away from arrogance. Also, this surah has mentioned the rights of parents, which is that they are supposed to be followed, but if the parents tell a person to do shirk, then a person is not allowed to listen to them and please them by doing shirk or associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah starts with three huruf muqatta'at, alif, lam and mim. The meaning of this is known to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tilka ayatul kitab al-hakim, these are verses of the wise book. So these ayat are from the Quran. Hudan wa rahmatan lil muhsinin. This Quran is huda and rahmah. Huda means guidance and rahmah means mercy, that if people listen to it and obey it, then they will get the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and forgiveness in the hereafter. Lil muhsinin, for those who are doers of good. Alladhina, who are the doers of good? Alladhina yuqimuna as-salah, they are those people who establish salah and are steadfast in it, which means that they are the ones who fulfill all bodily acts of worship that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed upon them. وَيُؤْتُونَ الزَّكَاةَ, and pay zakah. وَهُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ, and have faith in the hereafter. So whatever they do, be it bodily worship or be it worship by wealth or spending, they do it seeking reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, placing their trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and out of belief in the hereafter and not for worldly gains. This surah is Makki, and also in Surah Muzammil zakat is mentioned. So therefore the ulama say that zakat and salah, their rulings actually came in Makki life. The famous saying is that zakat was established in Madani life, but the ulama say that the zakat itself was given in Makkah. The amount and whom it will be given to and whom it cannot be given to and the details of it were given in the second year after Hijrah to Medina, migration to Medina. Ulaika ala hudam min rabbihim, such people who are the doers of good, who do things that Allah has prescribed and stay away from those that Allah has prohibited out of belief of the hereafter, those are the people who are upon guidance given by their Lord. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, and the Quran being rahmah is going to be proven because those are the people who are going to get eternal success in this world and in the hereafter. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and among the people, man, there is one, yashtari lahwal hadith, who buys discourses of distracting amusements. Lahu means useless, hadith is, literal meaning is discussion or discourse. Hadith Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is, we say for short hadith, but that means hadith Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the discourses of the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But generally hadith, literally in its meaning, it is any discussion, any talk, or any discourse. So among the people there is a man who buys distraction and things of entertainment, لِيُضِلَّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, so that he may mislead people from the path of Allah, بِغَيْرِ ilm, without having knowledge. وَيَتَّخِذَهَا هُزُوًا, and makes a mockery out of it. أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ, for such people there is a disgraceful punishment. So the particular background of this ayah is the Prophet ﷺ would recite the Quran, and even those people who would not want to listen or believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were also secretly very impressed by the Quran, and they would stealthily listen to the Quran. And this Nazar ibn Haris, who was a famous tradesman of Makkah, he went to the countries of Ajam, Persia and stuff, and he brought back stories from there. And some say that he brought back a singing woman, and he called people and said that instead of listening to the Quran of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, here I have something that is only pure entertainment. So these people, they were impressed by the Quran, and they would listen to the Quran, but the Quran would tell them to do things and believe in Allah. And he said that I have brought such entertainment for you, na'uzu billah, that is only pure entertainment. It does not, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Quran that you listen to him, it tells you to do certain things, and it puts burden on you. But my entertainment is such that it's not going to put any burden on you, just only pure fun. So he invited people towards that. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the particular background of this is that, but the ayah is general, which is that everything that distracts and deviates us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. According to a lot of Sahaba, this ayah is about music, because this woman would sing with music. So the ulama and the Sahaba have generalized it for all sorts of music, and the hurmat, or the absolute prohibition of all sorts of music. Also, all those acts of game and entertainment which have haram things in them, or they are itself halal in themselves, they do not have anything forbidden, but they distract one from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at the time that they distract a person, they become prohibited. So for example, any sorts of games such as board games, or even sports, or video games, or anything that distracts a person from ibadat, acts of worship, or listening to Allah, or listening to the Quran, or those kind of things, then they become prohibited. Otherwise, games and sports, if they are for a good reason, for example, bodily health or refreshing the mind, the Prophet ﷺ has recommended that you should refresh your heart from time to time. So if that is the purpose and no haram is involved, then they are allowed. Certain types of games, for example chess, and those games like backgammon or others that include dice and money and stuff, they are, if money is involved, then it's haram. But even if money is not involved, some types of games, the Prophet ﷺ has really discouraged them in hadith. So we should stay away from such kinds of games. And if it is for the sake of leading people away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then, or making fun of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Quran, then of course it is absolutely prohibited. Inshallah, we'll continue reading tomorrow. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُهِينٌ. Here the meaning is that the people who make fun of deen or try to distract people away from deen, Allah will disgrace them on the day of judgment. ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين امين برحمتك يا ارحم الراحمين.